is there a good argument to say to someone who believes that, no, actually, EWC, expropriation, the destruction of property rights, it's not about injustices or fixing injustices, it's about something else?
Right. Well, I think one must start by looking back, of course, to the apartheid era, when Black people were barred from owning land in the rural areas or houses in the urban ones. But of course, that did begin to change in the 1980s when the Great Housing Sale was launched in Soweto. And then in 1991, the National Party government repealed the Land Acts. And from then on, we've really seen an extraordinary explosion in property ownership among Black South Africans. So we're now at the point where I think it's 8.7 million Black, coloured, and Indian South Africans do own homes. Unfortunately, many of them don't have clear title deeds, but they have an ownership that is recognized in some informal way. And there are also 17, 18 million people in the former homeland areas who often have they have customary land use rights to the plots which have been in their families, often also for generations. And what we really need to benefit those people is to transfer that title into full ownership so that they do get the full advantage of the assets that they informally own. Instead, we have the government claiming the moral high ground, saying that there was this enormous injustice in the past, quite correct, and that they are going to fix it, absolutely incorrect, through the expropriation without compensation mechanism, because the government implies that what they're going to be doing is providing real redress, that Black South Africans are finally going to be able to own land and other property. But of course, what the government is really planning is that all the property that it seizes should belong to itself. And in the land context, it has a very specific policy called the State Land Lease and Disposal Policy of 2013, under which it is declared and implemented government policy that new Black emergent farmers, may not own. If they're simply subsistence farmers, they must remain tenants of the state forever. If they are producing for the market, they must first have a 30-year lease and then another 20-year lease, and then they may have an option to buy. So in other words, the government is planning to empower itself and disempower the people who now at least have some informal right to land and would benefit so much more if their informal rights were fully recognized and turned into freehold title. And it's essentially a con. It's claiming that EWC will provide redress for the past, when in fact it will empower the government. It will turn land into a patronage tool in the hands of the state. There will be bureaucrats up and down the country who will abuse their powers of control over land. And the people who will suffer the most are the people who are the most vulnerable. And that very much means the Black majority, who in many instances will find it extremely difficult to resist the depredations of the state elite.